Hey there. Welcome to Mike's Collection, episode 325. I'm Mike, and the part of my collection that I'm going to be talking about today is all of the action figures that I purchased in the second quarter of 2024. Now, basically, what I do every year, well, what I've done every year since I started this YouTube channel, and before that, when I started blogging about toys, is at the end of every calendar year, I would do a list of my best action figures of the year, usually my top 20 or so. And what I've found is that trying to gather every action figure I bought for the entire year and put them on my desk and do an elimination all at once was very time consuming. And I just didn't have the room to put all of my action figures on the desk at one time. So I think it was just last year was the first year that I decided to kind of break it down by quarter. So each quarter of this year, I'm putting all the action figures I bought in those past 3 months on my desk. I'm doing an elimination. This is not anything that I have predetermined. I'm doing it in real time. So you're seeing me making those decisions. Who do I got to get rid of? And I'm going to try and leave myself with approximately 20 or less action figures each quarter. And then at the end of the year, I'll take those, 20 figures from each quarter, and that way I'll only have about 80 figures to choose from at the end of the year to pick my very best, my top 20 of 2024. So I've previously shot my best of quarter one, 2024. So if you're curious about that one, you can go check that out on my channel. But there was, I think, 15 figures that made it through on that one. And then, yeah, this one here, I think I've got about 80 figures to choose from this quarter, which are all laid out on my desk beside me here. And I'm about to go through them and eliminate them. And yeah, so let's do that. But first, maybe I'll recap the figures that made it through in the first quarter. So just as a quick recap of what figures advanced from the first quarter, it was quite a few Marvel Legends. I had Hallows Eve and Tombstone and Jack-O-Lantern, all of them from the Spider-Man Retro Wave. I had Madeline Pryor, the Goblin Queen from the X-Men animated line, Chris Star and Justice and Namorita and Angel and Power Princess from various lines. I had a Godzilla skeleton reaction figure from Super 7. There was a animated Tila from Mattel. Then there was also a Void Marvel Legend Build-A-Figure in there. A couple of Godzilla Ultimates from Super 7, both Destroya and Melted Godzilla. And then there was one Mythic Legions figure from Four Horsemen Studios, which was Asa Hazar. So those are all the figures that made it from Wave 1, or from the first quarter, I should say, and they will be competing with the figures that I select in this video for the best of the year once we get to December 2024. So stay tuned for that. But anyway, now let's take a look at the figures from quarter 2. So here are my action figure purchases from the second quarter of 2024. Now it may not look like much, or I don't know, maybe you're thinking this looks like a whole lot. But yeah, considering it's only from 3 months, I think I've got probably close to 80 figures here, so it's quite a few to choose from. So we are going to start by eliminating these figures. But before we do that, first I want to talk about these figures up here. These are the figures that I got in this past quarter, which do not qualify because they were not released in 2024. Most of these figures were probably released last year or so. Like you'll see, I've got 4 or 5 Indiana Jones figures in the back there. Those were all released last year when the newest movie came out. I didn't pick up a lot of the figures until this year, so they don't qualify. I've got a bunch of reaction figures here. A lot of these are just from the last year or so, but I was also a little late picking them up. Some of these figures are quite old. This Predator reaction figure is, several years old. And this Medusa figure from McFarlane Toys, I picked her up at a toy show last month, but this figure is from like the 90s. Also, I've got Wonder Woman's Invisible Airplane. I've got Moss Man from Masters of the Universe Origins. Got a couple of little mini figures here. Yeah, so these figures, Some of them are pretty cool. I don't think any of them would have qualified for my best of the year anyway, if I'm being honest. But these guys are all automatically eliminated because they were not released in 2024. Anyway, now let's get back to these guys. So the way I have these figures arranged, um, it's really just kind of, I tried to put the biggest guys in the back and the smallest guys up front. That's just so you'd be able to see everything as best as possible. So I have not pre-ranked these things in any way in order of importance. But it just so happens that most of the smaller figures that I put up front are usually some of the easiest ones to eliminate anyway. I do like some of these small little figures, like reaction figures from Super 7 or some of the Funko Pops, but they usually can't compete with some of these more detailed, larger figures, such as Marvel Legends or G.I. Joe Classified. So let's start here. So this Superman, this is from McFarlane's DC Superpowers line. I love this sculpt. I have raved about it in past videos because this is my fourth version of this Superman. And even though I love this figure, every time it comes close to advancing on my list, but it never quite gets there. To be honest, if any figure should have advanced, it would have been the very first release of Superman in his classic red and blues. So this gold one, even though it's pretty neat, it is the fourth time we're getting this figure, so it has lost some of its newness factor, and it's just not going to be toy of the year for me. This here is Cassie Hack from the comic book Hack Slash. Now, she was made by Toy Otter, I think, and this is from a line called Longbox Heroes, which is compatible in scale and size with the DC Superpowers, but it covers all kinds of independent comic book characters. You're going to see a couple more of those as we go. Cassie Hack, I picked her up because I like the comic, I like the character, but this figure just didn't live up to its potential. I don't think it's a great sculpt on her. Even the paintwork leaves a little bit to be desired. Like, it's kind of hard to tell that shirt is supposed to be like a mesh shirt, but instead they just colored it solid gray. So it's not a bad figure, but it's definitely not toy of the year for me. So she's gonna go. I've got some of these Godzilla reaction figures. Now, I love Godzilla reaction figures. I think they're a lot of fun. These ones here are from the latest wave of blind boxes, and the concept behind these blind boxes was that the toys were all black and white. They called them silver screen. Now, they were pretty boring. I think Super 7 has the opportunity with these blind boxes to really do something fun and interesting, give us rainbow colors and stuff. But to just give us black and white versions of figures, and a lot of these we already have. Like my Godzilla, I already have this sculpt in basically the same black and white colors. Mecha Godzilla, I have him in black and white already. And then the other figure I have from this series is the Gigan. He is the best looking of the bunch, but I already have this figure in color two different ways already. So yeah, I don't think any of these black and white versions are going to cut it. So I'm going to get rid of all of them. Now we've got a couple of G.I. Joe reaction figures here from Super 7. This guy here that looks like Destro is actually the Red Jackal. He's got a really cool kind of like backstory. This is supposed to represent a figure that was previously only available in the UK in the vintage toy line. I think it's really neat that Super 7 does these deep cuts, but this is just a repaint of the same Destro figure that I already have 2 or 3 times already. So as much as I appreciate the Vac Metal head, which the other figures did not have, it's not enough to put him on the top of the list. Same as this here. This is Sabretooth or Wreckage, and he is a repaint of Firefly. He's a kind of an obscure G.I. Joe character. I think this is really cool that we got it, but not Toy of the Year. The one other G.I. Joe figure from that wave was the Snow Serpent. This is the first time we've ever got the Snow Serpent in animation accurate colors. He's cool, but the figure is just too basic, and yeah, he's going to go. Some more DC Superpowers. So we've got the Blue Beetle. This is a really nice sculpt. I love the superpowers for what they are. They're just simple. The paint job is really nice and crisp. I don't have this character in any other format, so it was nice to get a Blue Beetle for the first time. but I'm really not a huge Blue Beetle fan. And yeah, he's going to go. This is Madman. He's from the same line of Longbox heroes as Cassie Hack. Again, nice figure, simple design, simple sculpt. It's everything you'd want it to be for a Madman in the superpowers style. But it's just not going to be my toy of the year. So he's going to go. I've got two. Well, technically, I've got 3 Funko Pops here. I don't buy a whole lot of Funko Pops, but I picked up, was it Shimo from the new Godzilla movie? And this figure is really cool. I like the proportions of it. Sometimes I like these Funko Pop proportions more than the proportions of the actual character. And I do have an action figure of Shimo in this mess of figures back here. So we'll take a look at another Shimo a little bit later. I do like this one quite a bit. And I'm tempted to keep her around. But these videos always end up going longer than I intend. And I know this figure would get eliminated before the end. So I'm just going to cut Shimo right now. Similarly, this here is the Crow. It's a new version of the Crow. I have an old version of the Crow in my Funko Pop collection, and I really didn't want to buy another one, but this is my all-time favorite movie, and this is a much better version than my previous. It's got a lot more detail. I really like the flame crow effect at his feet. It's a really nice Funko Pop as far as Funko Pops go, but this guy just cannot compete with these other action figures. So again, I'm just going to have to let him go. We've got a couple more superpowers here. And I love this whole line. Like every one of these figures is great. Like this Sinestro in his Sinestro Corps uniform with his little lantern accessory. He's fantastic. No complaints, no notes. But again, he's too simple. It's just like the reaction figures. This figure would have to be absolutely incredible to make it on my best of the year list, and it's just a little too plain, so I'm going to get rid of Sinestro. Now Brainiac, this is a really fun, goofy Silver Age design. He would be easy to eliminate, but I'm kind of paired him up with his Skull Ship, and this thing is a blast. So if I consider these one piece, even though technically they did not come packaged together, there was a repaint of this Skull Ship that comes with an action figure. It comes with another version of Brainiac that I have not picked up yet, but I'm still thinking about it. So those actually did come packaged together. This one, no, but I'm going to consider them one piece for now. And for that reason, he's got a fighting chance because this spaceship is just so cool. The tentacles move when you drive it back and forth, which I will maybe demonstrate for you when I have a little bit more room on the desk, but I don't have much room right now. This here is the Goon. So this is the third and final figure that I have from the Longbox Heroes line this year. And this figure is really great. Like, he's got a little bit more going on in his design than, say, Madman. And he's much better executed than, say, Cassie Hack. So I think I will let this guy survive. He's going to live and fight. We'll come back to him later. And then I think my last of the DC superpowers is Kilowog, the Green Lantern. Now this figure is really neat. He's big and bulky. He kind of breaks the rules a little bit for the superpowers kind of basic buck. I like it a lot. I'm happy to get Kilowog, but yeah, as neat as he is, it's still pretty simple, and I don't think it brings enough new to the table, so I'm going to get rid of him too. Now Red Widow here is the first of many Marvel Legends that we're going to look at in this pile of figures. This is a nice looking figure, and it's a character that I've never had before. She's a relatively new character, so it's nice to add new characters to my collection, but she's not a particularly cool character. Like, she didn't do a whole lot for me in the few books that I've read with her in it, and she has this big red thick plastic cape that really hinders her movement. You can't put her arms out to the side or anything, so she looks cool, but yeah, neither the character nor the execution really worked for me, so she's going to get eliminated. And while we do that, do we have any other Marvel Legends that I can get to? Wolfsbane here. So this is a member of the New Mutants and X Factor. She is a character that I have long been anticipating in action figure form, and I think they really did her justice. It's a great sculpt, great figure, great look. So she is going to stick around. Now this here is Zabu, the saber-toothed tiger. This was the Build-A-Figure from one of the most recent waves of Marvel Legends. You had to buy a bunch of figures, including Wolfsbane here, in order to get Zabu. And I had to buy some figures that I really didn't want in order to get all the pieces because I really wanted to build this saber-tooth tiger. I'm glad I have it, but it is just a cat with not a whole lot of personality, and I think it's got some. It could be better as far as articulation. The head doesn't come up as far as I'd like it to. I think it should be able to look up a little bit higher than that. That's as high as the head goes. So I'm really glad we got this character. Really well done. But yeah, just not toy of the year for me. So we'll move Wolfsbane out of the way and we'll take a look at these two figures. These guys came in a 2-pack together. So this is Wolverine when he is like possessed by the alien brood, which it just happened in one issue of the comic book like 30 years ago. But it made for a really iconic image, and I just thought it was so cool that they actually produced a toy of this guy. I just thought it looked great, so I had to have it. But other than the fact that they gave him this brood head, it's really just kind of a repaint of Wolverine figure that I already have probably a couple of times, and it is just from a very brief moment in Marvel history. And yeah, just overall, Wolverine is as cool as he is just not one of my favorite Marvel characters. So I think I can eliminate this guy. And to be honest, I would not have even bought Lilandra if not for the fact that she came with this Wolverine that I really wanted. It's a really nice figure, and like Red Widow, she is a unique character. I've never had an action figure of her before, and I think they executed her pretty well. But she's just not a character I can get that excited about. So even though she's a welcome addition, she's not going to qualify for my toy of the year. Now this Tarzan looking guy, this is another Marvel legend. This is Khazar, and I'm really pleased with this figure. Khazar is a character that I have wanted for a long time. I think they did a really good job with him, but he is just a little plain for me, and I'm tempted to push him through just because like there's nothing wrong with the figure, and just based on the character alone I'm tempted, but I've just got too many other great figures here. I know the competition is going to be too fierce, so I think I'm just going to go ahead and cut Khazar, which is it is a shame to do. This is my first of many Godzilla versus Kong figures that I'm going to have here. So this is the Scar King. Now I thought this was a cool character that got introduced in the latest movie. I like that he's got this whip accessory. This is the figure from Playmates, so it's relatively simple, kind of a straight retail release, really kind of intended for kids. I would argue that most of the toys I collect here are kind of collector based, but these Godzilla ones are geared towards kids. But it's still a pretty good toy. The articulation is decent, the sculpt is nice, the paint is nice, and it is fun to just add a new character to my Godzilla collection because I have so many Godzillas, and adding somebody new is always a good thing. And I do have two different Scar Kings. It's the exact same figure, just painted in two different ways. So I've got this one here that's got some black soot on him. I think if either one of these was going to advance to the next round, it would probably be the cleaner paint job of this one here. But honestly, I don't think either of them are going to make it through. So I'm going to go ahead and eliminate both Scar Kings. Now you'll see I've got a bunch of G.I. Joe classified figures up front here. I'm kind of avoiding them because a lot of them are likely to advance. G.I. Joe Classified is probably my favorite toy line to collect right now. They've just been doing a killer job on these figures. Like Duke here. Duke is not even a character that I really like all that much, but they just keep winning me over with their Duke figures. This guy here is almost guaranteed to go through. Then I've got two different versions of the Techno Viper. Now, of the two, this purple one is based on the figure that I owned as a kid. So nostalgia really helps push him through. And this black and red repaint probably wouldn't stand a chance. except he comes with this gigantic missile launcher accessory, which really kind of, I'm kind of pairing that with him. So that definitely gives him a leg up. So I'm not sure if I'm ready to eliminate either of them just yet. Ricondo's great. Scarlet's great. Uh, this is the Dalsum Street Fighter figure from Jada Toys. He had these interchangeable limbs, so you could give him these really long arms, and he has really long legs as well. He is fantastic. I would say he's pretty much a lock to advance. This weird looking Spawn is what they call Proto Spawn. It is based on Todd McFarlane's original sketch that he did when he was a teenager on what he wanted this Spawn character to look like. I think it's super cool that they made an action figure of this sketch character, and I think he's got a good chance. I don't know if he'll make it all the way to the end, but I'm not ready to eliminate him yet. And in case you're wondering where my Todd McFarlane figure is, because this figure came in a 2-pack with Todd, I actually bought the 2-pack with a friend. So my buddy Chad has Todd, and I have Spawn. So there's no Todd McFarlane here on the desk. So this here is a new version of the Prowler. I just got this guy very recently. It is a really nice figure. It is an improvement over my prior Prowler action figure, but it is, in a lot of ways, just a slight improvement. I liked my old Prowler figure just fine. I didn't really need this one, but because it was an exclusive, I was a little worried that if I waited on him, that he would sell out and I wouldn't have a second chance. So I bought this figure more out of just fear of missing out and not necessarily something that I had to have. Anyway, it's cool, but he's gonna go. And next up here, this is maybe one of the most elaborate GI Joes in the on the desk here today. This is Metalhead. You can see he's got these missile launchers strapped to his legs with missiles blasting out of them. He's got these missiles blasting out of his shoulder-mounted missile launchers. He's got a gun in both hands. He actually has multiple different hairstyles and sunglasses and everything you can put on him. He was a deluxe figure. He came in a larger box because of all the accessories. So he is a pretty cool looking figure with a lot of cool gear, but he is a goofy character. This character came out after I had stopped buying G.I. Joe figures as a kid, so I don't have the same nostalgic attachment to him that I do others, and his portrayal in the cartoon was really annoying. So yeah, I just don't have the fondness for this character, even though the figure is executed quite well. So for that reason, he's going to go. Now we've got another G.I. Joe character here. This is Big Boa. He is pretty goofy. He is the Cobra's trainer. He's got his boxing gloves on there. I love this guy. He's goofy in all the right ways. He's, I'd say, pretty much a lock to advance. So I'm going to push him aside. Here we have Whiplash from Marvel Legends. I like this character and I like this figure. He's pretty well executed. He comes with a big energy whip, which I took out of his hands to put him in this display because it was just too big and awkward and I couldn't really fit it in here. My only real issue with this guy is that his wrists are quite limp and he can't even hold the signature energy whip that he came with. His wrists just flop over, and he doesn't hold the grip very tightly, so it falls out of his hand. So that's kind of a strike against him. But overall, he's just, as much as I do like this character, I don't love this character. He's kind of a minor bad guy. I can't think of a single like must-read Whiplash story. So for that reason, he's going to go. And then I've got Scarlet Spider here. This guy is, I love this character and I love this figure. I had a previous Marvel Legends Scarlet Spider, and this guy is just leaps and bounds better than the previous release. It moves well, it's sculpted well, the colors really pop. So he's another guy that's, I'm pretty sure he's going to advance. What else we got? There's another Marvel Legend here. This is Icarus of the Eternals. I was really excited to get this guy. This is a Jack Kirby creation, and I think they did a really good job at capturing the Jack Kirbiness of his costume. The head sculpt, it's a good head sculpt. It's actually really good, but it's just not Jack Kirby enough for me. I wish they had stuck more to his creator's original design instead of what I would consider to be a more contemporary look for him. So, yeah, this is another guy. I'm so happy about getting this figure, but he's just, he's probably not in my top 100 favorite Marvel characters. I have a lot of favorite Marvel characters. So he's a good one, but he's going to get eliminated as well. All right, I shimmied some things around again. So this was the third and final Funko Pop that I had on the shelf here today. This is Godzilla from the new movie. So it's the evolved version of Godzilla, meaning he has these pink fins. And I love these Godzilla Funko Pops. Again, I think the proportions look good. Like, usually Funko Pops have really oversized heads, and this guy does a little bit, but I actually don't think it looks too bad. Whereas the standard Godzilla figure, which you'll see him over here, I find his head is a little small, and I don't like the proportions as much. So, of the three Godzilla figures that I have remaining, which is basically this guy here twice, I've got him again over here, and then there's the Funko Pop. I think the Funko Pop is the best one, but yeah, the Funko Pop has no articulation. It is a Funko Pop. It's not really an action figure. So as much as I like him, he's going to get eliminated, which doesn't really bode well for our other Godzillas. Over here, you'll notice I've got the Ferret driver. This is the Cobra Ferret, like ATV four wheeler, and I think they call her the Ferret Scout. She's a cool figure, but she is a repaint of a figure we already got. But like the Techno Viper over there, she comes with a really cool accessory. The Ferret is a lot of fun, and so that really kind of elevates her, so she might stick around. She-Hulk, fantastic. Carnage is great. This is, I think they call it Frostbite Batman, and he is just Batman who is supposed to be frozen. I don't know if he's either made of ice or if he's been frozen by like Mr. Freeze's ice ray. But this was just a really unique figure. I don't buy a whole lot of DC, like McFarlane multiverse figures, but I thought this was so cool looking. Like, it legit looks like it's made of ice. And it's just an effect I haven't seen before. I've seen lots of translucent figures and glow in the dark figures. But yeah, this frozen effect, which they've done on a couple of other figures, I've at least seen a Joker with the same effect. Just really, really cool. Now, I don't know if that's enough to keep him around, but I'll let him stick around for now, anyway. So there's that Godzilla. This is a Godzilla from Playmates. It is the evolved Godzilla, so he's got the pink. Let me get him out here and we'll get a closer look at him. There you go. There's the Godzilla. He's got the translucent pink. And, it's a fine figure for like a $20 retail figure, but he's just he's really simple. Like, look at the paint on his eyes there. That's leaves a lot to be desired. It's pretty simple. So this is a children's toy. I picked it up just because children's toy doesn't mean it's not good. It's not fun, but it is not my toy of the year. So this Godzilla is going to go. And once I get rid of him, I'll drag the other one out here to show you the differences. So here is the other Godzilla that I hauled out of the corner there. It is the exact same toy as the other one, except he's got some different paint apps. So this guy here is this bright blue belly that the other figure did not have. He still has the same translucent pink spikes. You'll notice I have this guy has a blast effect coming out of his mouth. Both of them had that. It's just I chose to display one with and one without. So this does not give him any sort of advantage. I like the blue. It makes him a little bit more interesting to look at, but it is still, as I said about the last one, it's still just a kid's toy, and it's pretty simple in its design and in its paint job. So yeah, he's going to get eliminated as well. So next we're going to take a look at another G.I. Joe Classified figure. This is Airborne. Now this is another character that I like quite a bit, and I think they've done a really great job of taking the original figure from like 1983, 84, and really bringing him into the modern line with a lot of finesse. I think it's a great figure, but he is a little plain, maybe compared to some of his other fellow Joes. And, sometimes it just comes down to something as simple as, when I was a kid, me and my brother Doug, we collected most of our toy lines together, and he owned Airborne when we were kids rather than me. So, Doug was the one that got to play with this guy. So that allowed him to build a bit more of an attachment, a personal bond to this character that I just don't have. So even though I'm a hardcore Joe fan and I'm happy to get any one of these characters, Airborne is just one of Doug's guys. And so yeah, I'm going to eliminate him, but it's a great figure. Now I'll bring Quick Kick out here, and I have basically the same thing to say about him. I think this is a great looking figure. This is the best Quick Kick has ever looked. It's really true to the original figure from '85, I want to say. And yeah, it's really cool. I like it a lot. He had an alternate head, and he had some fun accessories. But this is a character that my brother Doug had when we were kids, and I already have so many other great GI Joes here that I'm more likely to push through than Quick Kick. So I think he is going to have to be eliminated as well. Now, I'm a big fan of Masters of the Universe, and I'm currently collecting the Origins toy line. But the Origins toy line has kind of slowed down. It is no longer available at retail. So, what they're doing is they're just releasing figures directly through Mattel's website on kind of like a quarterly basis, maybe every 2 months or so. And so, yeah, this quarter has been pretty light as far as He-Man figures go. The only two I have are Extendar here, which is the Knight figure that has an extending neck and extending limbs and torso, and Cyclone, which is, I don't know, this weirdo that spins around. He creates tornadoes. This is the first time they've ever given him tornado effects that you can attach to his hand, which are really cool. Neither of these characters were guys that I really grew up loving. I didn't have these guys when I was a kid. I like them both, and I really like Extendar a lot more than I thought I would, to be honest with you. This guy is a really fun figure, and he looks really good. His colors just work really well together. Cyclone's a lot of fun too, and his colors are really bright and eye-catching. He's probably the most colorful figure that I have here, with maybe the exception of She-Hulk over there, which I really like. Bright colors really kind of draw the eye, but I just think Cyclone's kind of a dork. So I'm going to cut Cyclone. I don't think Extendar is going to make it to the end, but I do like him a lot. So I'll let him stick around for now. He might have a fighting chance. So we've got a few Marvel Legends that I haven't talked about yet. Back here, we've got She-Hulk and Carnage. Both of these figures are awesome. That I think they have a pretty good chance of advancing. These three here, so I've got Iron Man, Cable, and Black Winter Thor. These are all good figures, but I don't think any of them are going to make it, and kind of for various reasons. This gold armor Iron Man was a must-have for me. I love these early incarnations of Iron Man, but this is basically a repaint of the gray Iron Man that we got like last year. And if anything, I like this one a little bit less just because you can see his eyes through the armor. I preferred on the gray armor that it was just kind of painted all in black in there. It was a little more mysterious. Looked more like a robot than a guy in a suit of armor. And I know it is a guy in a suit of armor, but I just prefer the look of the blacked out eyes. So yeah, this figure, it's just a repaint a figure I got already. Cable, people seem to love this figure. It was really kind of hard to track one down, and it is a nice figure. I don't mind that I own it, but I really only bought it to get the piece of Zabu, the Build-A-Figure that I needed. And the same thing with this Thor figure. It's not bad. Like, it looks pretty good. I like the kind of dark paint job and everything. It looks pretty creepy. The new head sculpt with that flowing hair is really well done. But these were not characters I really needed to buy. I already have a Cable in my collection, and I have lots of Thors. This is technically a different character, the Black Winter, that just takes the shape of Thor. But yeah, I just didn't really feel the need to buy these, but I did, so I could build my Zabu. So not bad figures, any of them, but they're just not going to advance for me. All right, we still have some figures hiding in the back that we haven't talked about yet. First off, I'll mention these two big green guys in the corner. I've got Kang and Kodos. I'm actually not sure which one is which, but they are from The Simpsons. These figures were produced by Super 7 in their Simpsons Ultimates line. I know you can't get a great look at them right now, but they are huge. They are super cool. One of them is definitely going to advance. I don't think I would push both of them through. So we'll take a look at them once I move these other figures out of the way. We've got these two Egyptian god figures from Four Horsemen Studios. This is Anubis and Bastet. These things are both beautiful. You know, all the details in their sculpt, and they had so many accessories. I don't have them all here, but yeah, basically came with all these diorama pieces. They're beautiful. Then I've got these two King Kongs. So these are from the same Playmates line that my Godzillas were from, and that my what's his name, Scar King were from, and they're fine figures for what they are. You can see this guy here. He's got the power glove, so that's a new thing that was added for the new movie. So this is kind of the standard Kong. He's got a little bit of battle damage on him, and then this guy here, which I'll oh, shit. Yeah, so here are the two Kongs. So it's the exact same figure, just painted slightly differently. This guy's got kind of these random red and yellow splotches on him. I actually don't mind the look of it. This figure came with a diorama set that had all this like volcanic lava waterfalls and stuff, and so I'm guessing this is supposed to be the reflection off of the lava. So it kind of makes sense for the diorama that he came with. They're good figures, but they're really simple sculpts. You know, there's better versions of King Kong and Godzilla and Scar King, you know, available from some of the bigger like collector-based companies. So yeah, while these guys were fun and they're affordable, they're just not going to be toys of the year for me. Now, the last figure I have from Playmates Godzilla vs. Kong line is Shimo. So this is the brand new Ice Dragon character that they introduced. Um, I love the look of this character. I think she's a really nice addition to the collection, I guess. But this is a really simple figure. I do have a much better version of Shimo on pre-order from Haya Toys, which will, I'm sure, knock this one out of the park. So this one's a good placeholder, and I'm happy to have her. It's a fun toy, but yeah, there's better ones coming. So yeah, she's gonna go. Okay, now I think I've just about addressed everything, so it's about time to start whittling these figures down. Although the only two that I have not talked about, I think, are those two carded G.I. Joes that you'll see in the back. I just got those figures last week, and I probably will open them, but I haven't had a chance to do so yet. Um, it's possible they could advance, even though I haven't opened them. So why don't we bring them out and we'll take a closer look at them. So these are a couple of Super 7's reaction G.I. Joe figures, meaning they only have 5 points of articulation. You know, they're really simple, kind of done in that Kenner Star Wars style. These figures are a lot of fun. These were exclusive to the Joe Fest convention, which I did not go to, but they did have some remaining stock available on their website after Joe Fest. So I ordered them directly from Super 7's website, and I did so quickly because I didn't want to miss out on these characters. Now, if you're a pretty casual GI Joe fan, or even a pretty strong GI Joe fan, you might not recognize these characters. You kind of have to be particularly hardcore to know who these guys are. These figures are based on some repaints from the 80s that were only available in Argentina. So this figure here, you might notice, is basically just Snake Eyes painted some weird colors, and he's got a cobra emblem on his chest. And this is basically Scarlet with blonde hair and then blue and silver tights. So yeah, in Argentina, these characters were known as Glenda and Cobra Mortal. So they are highly sought after by collectors to get those original 80s figures. I don't own them. So it's really cool that Super 7 kind of gave us this opportunity to have our own new versions of these characters. I think they're great, especially Cobra Mortal. Glenda is cool, but I don't think she would really have any chance of advancing. Cobra Mortal, possibly, but I haven't opened him up. I haven't had a chance to handle him. Yeah, he looks really cool, but it's just a really simple figure, and I think I'm gonna have to let both of these guys go. So I just did a quick count, and I'm down to 22 figures. Now, if I wanted to be really lazy, I could just advance all 22 of these figures right now, as I don't have a set number that I need to whittle each quarter down to. But I think I can definitely do a couple more eliminations before we move on. Um, and I do realize now that I don't think I talked about this Batgirl figure at all, so we'll talk about her in a minute. But I think I'm going to make some tough cuts right now. With these Egyptian god figures, they're both fantastic, but I always grew up with a bit of a fascination for Anubis, the jackal headed god of the dead. I always just thought he was really cool. And Bastet, I just don't have the same affinity for. So even though it's a beautiful figure, it looks great, I don't see the two of them advancing. So if one of them was going to move forward, it's going to be Anubis. So I'm going to let Bastet go. And as for Kang and Kodos, they are so similar. Um, like I said, I'm not even sure which one is which. Both of them had interchangeable heads and a whole bunch of different accessories. Of the two that I've got displayed here, I just happen to like how this one has the kind of more wide open eye, whereas this guy here, he's got that kind of half closed eye. So I'm going to eliminate this alien, whichever one he happens to be, and Bastet. Okay, so who here is a lock? So we'll say that Kang or Kodos, whoever that is, he is a lock. Anubis is a lock. Scarlet Spider, he is a lock. Um, you know what? I love Recondo. I grew up Recondo. This was one of the toys I played with when I was a kid. Um, I'm not sure about him to be honest, but Duke, he's a lock. I love this figure. He looks great with the helmet, with the little clear visor that comes down, but he also looks great when you take the helmet off. Like, just look at how handsome this young man is. That is a great head sculpt. Just a fantastic figure. I love it. So yeah, Duke, he's a lock. He's going to advance. I'm going to say that both Dalsim and Big Boa are locks. So I think it's time to make a decision when it comes to these Techno Vipers. When you have an incredible sculpt, it's hard to choose between two paint jobs, especially when both of them look really nice. I had the same problem last year with the Range Viper figure. Um, but ultimately, I went with the classic retro colors, and I think I'm going to do the same here as well. This guy looks great, and he does have this huge missile launcher, which is really cool, but there's just no denying how great those purple colors are. I loved the purple Techno Viper when I was a kid, and even nostalgia aside, I think if I really had to pick between these two, the purple is just so unique. This guy is colored this way to match the rest of the Hiss support team. Like I have a Cobra Trooper and a Cobra Officer and a Range Viper that all wear these same colors. So that's cool that he's part of a squad, but I think the uniqueness of the purple will win out. So that is a lock as well. All right, so we're getting to it now. We have 7 locks over here, and these guys are still all up for grabs. It's tough. It's tough. You know what? I don't know if this guy will make it to the end of the year, but I don't think I have pushed any of my superpowers collection through, even though I like them all. I think the Goon is the most unique of the bunch, just in that he's a character that we've never had an action figure of before. I don't think there's ever been a figure of him. Definitely not in this style. He's got some fun accessories. It's his sculpt is a little more unique because he's this big buff guy. I'm going to go ahead and push the Goon through. He can fight for it, next quarter or whatever. Uh, Wolfsbane, I'm going to put through. And even though I think she's maybe not as good of a figure objectively as some of the Marvel Legends that I've already eliminated, I am just a huge Marvel junkie ever since I was a kid. And I just have a particular fondness for certain characters. And I just really loved the New Mutants comic book when I was a kid. And Wolfsbane is a character that I've wanted a good figure of for a long time. If you looked at the figures I picked from the first quarter, it was characters like Justice and Namorita. I don't think those figures were necessarily the best figures, but it was just my love of the character that pushed them through. And so I think the same is going to work for Wolfsbane here, and I'm going to push her through. Recondo and Scarlet. I'm really torn. I actually kind of shit on this Scarlet figure when I first reviewed her. Um, and she has grown on me even more since. It is a really nice Scarlet figure. And it wasn't that I thought she was bad before. It's just that I liked the other Scarlet release quite a lot, and I didn't really feel the need for an update. Although I liked the original Duke figure quite a lot too, and I didn't feel the need for an update of him. And I put the updated Duke through to the next round. Uh, Man, the Skull Ship and Brainiac, it's really tempting. Oh, yeah, I can show you what it does now, by the way. So when you drive it, the tentacles move around like that. Super fun. I think I'm going to have to eliminate this just because I'm cheating. I'm lumping them together, which I have no problem with when the figure actually comes with the vehicle, but these were sold separately. And the Skull Ship, as great as it is, and it's the main reason that I'm considering pushing it through, it's just not an action figure. And this list is really about action figures. So Brainiac alone isn't enough to cut it. But who knows? Maybe before the end of the year, if I buy the box set that includes a repaint of both of these things, maybe that one will make it through. But for now, I'm going to eliminate Brainiac and his Skull Ship. I'm not so sure about Extendar here just because I didn't have him as a kid and I really did not expect this guy to advance. There's nothing wrong with him, but I kind of have the same feelings about him as I do Cyclone. He just happens to be a character in the Masters of the Universe world that I collect to be a completist. He's not offensive in any way. I just didn't find him all that interesting. And yet I love this figure. I just thought he was super fun to play with. The day that he arrived in the mail, I kept him upstairs at my desk while I was working all day long, and I just couldn't put him down. I just kept fiddling around with him and making him extend and making him shrink again. He's a lot of fun. And I don't think the Masters of the Universe are going to have a whole lot of representation on my list here at the end of the year. So I'm going to go ahead and say that Extendar, to my surprise, is a lock. And I guess let's finally talk about this Batgirl figure. Uh, I love the Cassandra Cain version of Batgirl, and I think this is a really nice figure of her. She has this nice wired cape that you can pose however you want, so the cape will hold its shape. It's hard for me to do with one hand right now, but it's really cool. I like this figure a lot, but I don't know. I have another version of her from DC Direct, and I think I prefer the sculpt on that figure. There's something about this one. I think her legs just seem too long. And when I think of Cassandra Cain, I always think of the art from her ongoing series that ran for about 60 issues several years ago. And she was always drawn to be more like a child uh, in her proportions. That's the way I remember it anyway. And yeah, so this figure just looks, I don't know, it's a great figure, but it's just not the ideal proportions and everything I would like to see on Cassandra. So I think I'm going to let her go. And this Batman, I don't know. It has charmed me to no end. So he's a lock. I'm going to go ahead and say Proto Spawn. He's just so interesting and different. So he's a lock. Tuck him in here too. There we go. I know I keep avoiding Carnage. He's such a big, crazy figure. He's got all these tentacles. He's got all these extra appendages, like this big blade hand and everything. He's really cool. Although I'm not sure if he's gonna advance. He's great, but so yeah, here we go. These are the ones that I'm still thinking about. These last five. Um, yeah, I do like this Scarlet. I'm gonna put her through. I'm kind of surprised about that too, because in the video that I reviewed her, I think I reviewed about 15 GI Joes, and I said she was my least favorite of the 15, and yet here she is, outlasting some of those very figures. Recondo, sure, why not? I'm having a hard time eliminating him. I don't know if he'll make it to the end because, like, I like Techno Viper, I like Big Boa, I like Duke better than him. Are that many GI Joes going to get through to the end of the year? Because I know I have so many more great GI Joes coming before the end of the year. But for now, he can survive. She Hulk, she's just such a unique sculpt. I like this really tall, really muscular. And I love the face design and the hair. It was just a really well done figure. So what the hell? She's going to advance. So it's just these two. So how many am I at here now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So yeah, if I put these guys through, that's 17. I think that's pretty reasonable. This ATV is just a ton of fun to play with. I like it more than the motorcycles that we've got in this line previously. It has these like shocks on it. It's just it's fun. I love her helmet. It's got these little fangs on the top of the helmet there, and that's a removable helmet too. It's a fun design. We've never had a female Cobra Trooper in gray. This is essentially a female Stinger driver. And so, yeah, I think her and her ATV deserve to stick around. And then what the hell? Carnage is just a big, cool figure. He's pretty recent for me. So part of it, I think maybe I'm just like, I don't want my newness bias to sway me. But yeah, he's really cool. So what the hell? Let's put all these figures through. So there we are. There is one final look at my top 17 figures from the second quarter of 2024. So we have got the Cobra Ferret and Ferret Scout. We've got Carnage. We've got Proto Spawn, Sensational She-Hulk, Extendar from Masters of the Universe Origins. We've got Batman. What did I call him? Frostbite Batman. We've got Scarlet. We've got the Goon. We've got Techno Viper, Big Boa, Wolfsbane, Duke, Scarlet Spider, Dalsim, Anubis, and Kang/Kodos. So pretty solid collection of action figures. Okay, so that was my best action figures of the second quarter of 2024, which I managed to whittle down from whatever it was, 80 figures down to 17. So those 17 will come back and see how they fare at the end of the year. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this process. If you did, please make sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel, leave me comments below, and make sure, either come back for my next video, which will be more like a standard toy review video, and at the very least, come back at the end of quarter 3, and we'll go through this whole process again. So I'll see you then. Thank you very much for watching.